Welcome to you all. Welcome to the Foreign Correspondents Club of South Asia webinar series. This is our fourth webinar, a fourth serious webinar, I would say, since we began during the lockdown. And it's unfortunate that you can't do this at our club premises, but I'm sure that we would not have accommodated this record audience of 490 some people at the Foreign Correspondents Club or even a small auditorium. So I am glad. And I think this speaks very highly of India and particularly our guest speakers here today's drive, passion, and professionalism and work in the digital domain. So I think that's the subject probably of discussion today as we start off this webinar number 4 with Self-Reliant India Campaign, the way forward. Welcome to this webinar, and I will now invite Mr. S. Venkat Narayan. He is the president of the Foreign Correspondents Club to start off with the welcome note and then bring on the speakers one by one. Venkat.
Thank you, Munesh. Good evening, Mr. Gunani and Mr. Matthews and Dr. Tyagi. It's a pleasure having you, three distinguished panelists, in this webinar, and a warm welcome to all the more than 500 participants who are watching this, and several hundred others who may be seeing it on Facebook Live, YouTube, and so on and so forth. Without wasting any more time, I'll briefly introduce our distinguished panelists, and then we will start. Mr. Gurnani, I will begin with. He is the MD and CEO of the Tech Mahindra, a 5.2 billion leading provider of digital transformation, consulting, business engineering services that employ 125,200 professionals across 90 countries. An accomplished business leader with extensive experience in international business development, startups and turnarounds, joint ventures, mergers and acquisitions, Mr. Gurnani has played a pivotal role in Tech Mahindra's transformation journey and one of the biggest turnarounds of Indian corporate history, namely the acquisition and merger of Satyam, which is a Harvard case study. Mr. Gurnani is also proactive about nurturing a digital future-ready talent pool, and a lot of it has to do with reskilling the workforce. He has also served as the chairman of NASSCOM for 2016 and 17, an ardent supporter of individual social responsibility. He is an active member of the Tech Mahindra Foundation. A chemical engineering graduate from the National Institute of Technology, Rourkela, Mr. Gurnani has also been felicitated as an honorary doctorate degree by Veer Surendra Sai University of Technology and Sharda University. He is on board with Mahindra Ecole Centrale and is also the chairman of IIM Nagpur. A warm welcome to you, Mr. Gurnani. Now, Mr. Matthews. Mr. Matthews is the Director General of Cellular Operators Association of India, COAI, the leading industry association of mobile service providers and other digital technologies companies and businesses in India. Prior to joining COAI as DG in April 2010, Rajan served in many senior executive positions such as the CEO, COO, and CFO of such major companies as AT&T Wireless, Birla AT&T, now Idea, Telargo, a joint venture of NTT, Docomo, Afghan Wireless, Carl Sciences, and as a senior financial executive at Beatrice International, Columbia TriStar Pictures, and Price Waterhouse Coopers. Rajan specializes in international operations and startup ventures, turnarounds, mergers and acquisitions, and venture financing. He assisted in raising over $1.5 billion of financing for companies through public and private offerings of equity, debt, and private placements. He has managed companies in such diverse places as the United States, Afghanistan, India, UK, France, Germany, Belgium, Taiwan, and Hong Kong. A warm welcome to you, Mr. Matthews.
Thank you.
Now, Dr. Dinesh Tyagi belongs to the Indian Administrative Service, 1981, of Manipur, Tripura cadre. He worked in Tripura state in various capacities as Secretary, Education, and Principal Secretary, Finance. He has also worked as Director of the Banking Division, Ministry of Finance. He was custodian of Special Court 1992, the Harshad Mehta scam in the Finance Ministry. He has been Director on the boards of Syndicate Bank, United Bank of India, and Indian Bank. He has also been Director on the board of financial institutions such as the Small Industries Development Bank of India. Dr. Tyagi has worked as Chief Executive Officer, CSC scheme with Infrastructure Leasing and Financial Services Limited. Presently is working as Chief Executive Officer of CSC E-Governance Services India Limited, which is a special purpose vehicle promoted by the Department of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India. A warm welcome to all of you, gentlemen. We're looking forward to a lively discussion.
Thank you very much.
Let us start with Mr. Gurnani. Kindly make your presentation. Each one of you will speak for about 10 minutes each, and then we will give an opportunity to people who are listening to you to ask us questions. Can we start with Mr. Gurnani, please?
Thank you so much, Mr. Venkat Narayan, and it is an honor to be on a panel with Dr. Tyagi and Rajan Matthews. It is clearly the humbling moment that the Foreign Correspondents Club and the 500 plus people would discuss with me and the other panelists a very, very critical topic. And it has also become a very contemporary topic. The questions that we all would like to deliberate on is it the end of globalization? Is the international trade going to come to an end? Does Atmanirbhar means that we will, as a country, start becoming so self-reliant that we would not need the imports? Most of us know that we in India probably import most of our oil, most of the minerals, and even to the extent that we import coal, where the Coal India has some of the largest deposits in the world. And we have noticed is that auto plants would come to a shutdown because of the global supply chain getting disturbed. So there is clearly a need to become self-reliant, because self-reliant Atmanirbhar Bharat does not mean turning away from international trade. It is simply means to make India stronger on the pillars of economy, infrastructure system, demography, and the demand. We want to become the enabler of international trade by taking a lead in supply. Now, question again is, will the government, will the people, will the private sector come together and start what is being tom-tommed as the Atmanirbhar? Will it mean manufacture in India? Will it mean research and development in India? Will it mean design in India? The reason I bring these topics up is the the research has shown that India has a huge market for oil, electronics, electrical goods, solar panels, chemicals, bulk drugs, metals, furnitures, household items, toys, footwear, hardware, tires, bicycle parts, automobile components, bearings. But how come the campaign Make in India became Made in India, Made in China? So the Make in India became Made in China. So let's take a few parts. India, you go to places like Jaipur, Jodhpur, Noida, Chennai, you find some of the best furniture being made there. But who has taken the lead? You go to a city called Guangzhou. From Guangzhou, you drive about an hour. You go to a place called Foshan. And Foshan has the biggest furniture market in the world. Now, why is that manufacturing, research, design, branding, and marketing happening in Foshan, which is 1 hour away from Guangzhou? And why is it not happening in a Coimbatore or a Jodhpur or a Jaisalmer or a Bikaner? And what does it take? India's, if you go to Middle East, I mean, there is no building where the carpenters are not from India. What is it that China has got that we don't have? Why is it that India will be importing furniture from China? Their cost of labor is not cheaper. Their cost of land is not cheaper. Their labor laws may be more skewed towards the employer, but that does not mean India cannot adopt and change. You know, Rajan and I have been associated with IT and telecom industry. We started CDOT. What happened to CDOT? Great institution. One of the finest engineers in the world even today are from CDOT. Now, is CDOT the equipment supplier to the world? The sad answer is no. Whereas a Chinese company called Huawei is an equipment supplier to the world. A country like Sweden, which is 10.5 million people, supplies more technology to the world than we at 1.2 billion people. The other day, Dr. Saraswat called a meeting in Planning Commission. Oh, sorry, I still use the word Planning Commission. It's Niti Aayog. And his point was, can India produce 4G and 5G gear? Can software industry leapfrog and create software-based network? The best part was, same Indian companies go to Japan, launch a 5G services along with a company called Rakuten, which is a service provider, and we do it with the collaboration of various international players, but it was all software-defined networks. So yes, Atmanirbhar can happen, but many times a leadership has to come from the government. My personal request to all of us is that if government decides we will leapfrog, that we will not allow the furniture market to go to China. We will not allow the chemical market to go to Germany. We will not allow the missile and the gun market to go to Sweden. We will not allow the DGOFs or the Director General Ordnance for factories to only assemble imported equipment from Israel. I think India has a full potential, because when Mr. Venkat Narayan introduced me, he said 125,000 people. It is not 125,000 people, sir. It is 125,000 engineers making another 1,000 plus companies successful by research and development, by design, and by information technology. And if I can provide a backbone to make my customers successful, I think we owe it to our country. We owe it to the world that if India chooses not to outsource its manufacturing, not to outsource its mineral production, not to import coal from Australia or Indonesia, to be able to refine or enrich the higher ash content coal of Coal India Limited and be able to supply to the power plants in India, I think it is possible. It's the same way that a wind power produced, I think in India has handled it all wrong. I mean, the reality is our solar generation is dependent on a solar panel which is made overseas. And I don't see what is so complicated in a solar panel. Why do I need to go? I mean, India is the biggest market. We import oil. We need to substitute oil. We are too dependent on an import of an oil. Our economy is dependent. Our foreign reserves are dependent on the oil price. Why would we not consider it as a national emergency? If we consider it as a national emergency, we will put solution to solve it. I mean, sir, we saw the current COVID-19 crisis. I mean, ventilator, ultimately, same, I just want to narrate a story. IIT Kanpur designed a ventilator in less than a month, which all other multinationals were selling for minimum 10 to 12 lakhs. This ventilator costs less than 4 lakh rupees, sir. And it has got more advanced features than any other ventilator in the market because it has been designed now. It has taken into account that hardware can be virtualized, hardware can become software, and hence their bill of material is much lesser. We import 50 million phones in India. Why do I call it an import? Because yes, we make them in India. We have nice factories in India. But if the semiconductor industry is zero in India, how can you manufacture a phone? If we don't have our own operating system, how do we call it an Atmanirbharta? So a lot of work needs to be done. I am glad that the Prime Minister Modi has given this clarion call. We as industry would like to participate. Just before this meeting, I was talking to Rajan about the ecosystem of entrepreneurs that is coming up all over India. That my classmate, Commander Jadumani Jaina, has been supported by Rajan to create an incubation center for startups. Only tells you that the good intent is there. Leadership is coming from people like Rajan. We owe it to convert this into a momentum. We need to convert this into consumption in India and made for India for global market. So as long as we can become the supply house, I think we will do well, sir. So thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. May I now invite Mr. Rajan S. Matthews. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Narayan, again, and it's always a pleasure and a privilege to be on the same forum as Mr. Gurnani and Mr. Tyagi, and obviously with the FCC. I mean, I've never been in such a prestigious gathering of people, and I sometimes get a little intimidated by all the horsepower that is represented among you folks over here. So with all humility, let me just talk from the perspective of the IT, telecom, communications industry. So the first point that I would like to make is that the genie is out of the bottle and you can't put him back in. And what do I mean by that? And what I mean by that is that we are in a globalized environment with global trade. The only question is, how will we in India leverage that to the benefit of our country, right? So economists, and again, we don't need to reinvent the wheel, have shown that global trade done appropriately can increase the wealth of all nations. And that's what we've seen. We've been able to see how global trade has been able to pull people out of poverty in China, in India, Africa, elsewhere. So I don't think we should argue against globalization. The only point that we should be talking is, how do we in India get a bigger part of the pie? And in order to get a bigger part of the pie, we have to do a couple of things. Let me give you just a couple of data points first to prove the point that we have plenty of opportunity and we can. Please look at who is running the 6 to 7 major IT companies of the world. All right. There are folks who studied in India, graduated from India, and went on to lead up these global companies. So the first point is that we have talent at the apex part of the value chain. Secondly, if you look at what is happening in India already, we are the ones, our talent, our engineers, as Mr. Gurdani has said, are the ones who are creating the bulk of the value that is being monetized by international companies in the global space. So we need to ask ourselves, how is it that we need to monetize what our people are doing in terms of creating the value? So the value is there. We are the ones creating that value. And how is it that we are not gaining the benefit of the value addition? So that is the second point that we want to emphasize, is that we have the talent at the top. We have the talent in the technical area. Our IT is some of the best in the world. We develop some of the best software, and we are continuing to focus on those areas. So this is an area that we should look at. The third point that I want to focus on in terms of saying there is a tremendous amount of opportunity in terms of being able to leverage value in India. And again, I'm going to talk from the ITC side. Please understand that when WhatsApp started in the US, it did not get much valuation. They had about less than 100 million people signing up for WhatsApp. It wasn't till WhatsApp came to India and managed to sign up 250 million people, users, that all of a sudden the valuation of WhatsApp went through the roof. And all of a sudden, guess what happened? They had monetized value, what I call cheap paper, that you could go out and begin to start acquiring other companies. All right, look at the value of the paper of a Google and a Facebook. Is there any surprise that they are investing billions of dollars elsewhere through equity and the value of their paper? So we have to get to that point in terms of saying we have to monetize the value of our contributions to the global trade that is going on. The other point, again, I'm going to come from the telecom side. When you look at China, and people constantly refer to China, please remember that in the ITC section and in the telecom section, all right, China, and we've done the study with the Booz consultants, China itself only produces 45% of its total needs in the telecom IT section indigenously. It relies on the other 65% for international trade. So this is where we have to say, how do we begin to gain that portion of the pie that is obviously the bigger portion that's out there? So a couple of things that I would like to suggest, again, from the way forward from the telecom communications IT side. We today import, all right, just the network side, about 8 to 9 billion US dollars per year in terms of network equipment and software. All right, it has gone down to about 2 to 3 billion. The bulk of that supplied by people like Ericsson, Nokia, Samsung, Huawei, ZTE. Increasingly, please look at the shift in the dynamic of the valuation of that 8 to 9 billion US dollars. Previously, the bulk of that used to go into the hardware components. Today, 85% of the value of what that same equipment is in the software. So I ask myself the question, if we are an IT power, and if we do so well in software and in technical expertise, in design and in coding and all the component parts, why are we not gaining a larger share of the value proposition? My proposition is as follows. We don't do R&D. I don't know why we as a country, if you look at our tax structure, if you look at the incentive structure, nobody invests in R&D until more recently, right? Why? Because I suppose at one point we had a very, comfortable environment in terms of the protectionist area, and nobody had R&D investment. And so what happened? We lost in the IPR game, especially in telecom and in communications. If you don't have IPR, you're not going to be able to monetize the value of the proposition going forward. So the point that we have to look at saying is that if we want to make Atmanirbhar a particularly successful event, we have to do R&D, we have to incentivize R&D, and we have to allow R&D to be a career choice. Now, let me emphasize that last point. What do I mean by that? Can you please ask anybody if they would ever take up R&D in terms of a career opportunity, research as a career opportunity? Unless you go to ISRO or DRDO or whatever those places are, nobody wants to look at this because the career opportunities are not very great. And then you ask ourselves, why are we not monetizing our value? Because we haven't created career paths for people to do research and R&D. And so we have to look in terms of the skilling factor, in terms of the career opportunities, and we have to look at the incentives, and we have to look at the opportunities for being able to invest in R&D, incentivize people to work in research and R&D, show them where the career goals are and where the payoffs are. So these are things that we have to focus on. All right. The next thing that we have to look at in terms of the opportunity is open source. Think about this. IBM last year invested $36 billion US acquiring a company called Red Hat so that they could go into open source. Here is a tremendous opportunity for us in India. No proprietary anything, going open source, right? Why can't we leverage open source to our benefit? All right. IBM is here, Red Hat is here, they've got companies here. We have got to begin to use the opportunity of open source in our telephony networks, in developing the software, in driving value. This is a great opportunity for us in terms of saying, can we get more of the pie? The next thing that I want to look at is what we have to look at is an example of capital acquisition. Unfortunately, in India, capital is far too expensive. All right, and what do I mean by this? If you go to the bank today, and Mr. Gurnani and others will tell you, when you look at our startups, right, the amount of money that is necessary for these startups, all right, is quite large and it is expensive. You can't get a loan today for less than, if you're lucky, 9%. If you go to the market, 12 plus. You know what the interest rate in the US is close to 1%. It's almost giving capital away for free. In fact, if you go to Sweden, the government of Sweden will pay you to take money from them. That's what we call negative interest. Okay. Right? Look at what we are up against. We have got to fix our banking systems. We have got to fix our capital structures. We have got to be able to get more money at cheaper rates into the hands of the people who need it to grow. All right, our startups and elsewhere. And finally, let me make this point. We have got to get smarter at trade negotiations. I'll give you an example. 2 years ago, I had gone to Vietnam with TPC, which is our Telephony Export Promotion Council. And we were talking with the Vietnamese. And an astounding fact came out. In the space of 1 year, India, in terms of its trade balance with Vietnam, went from a surplus 12 billion US dollars to a negative 2 billion. Please hear me. In Vietnam, positive 12 billion to a negative 2 billion. 12 billion surplus, US dollars negative. Why? We allowed telephony equipment to come through Vietnam free. That opened the floodgate. Samsung, everybody started importing stuff into India through Vietnam, duty-free. Where do you think our people could compete? All right? These are very concerted points that we have to look at in terms of saying we've got to get smarter in the way we do trade negotiations. I'm happy to see that, yes, in the new round of WTO, we're being a lot more careful in terms of what we do allow and not allow, and what we, put, the appropriate duties to protect our manufacturing. All very important. So with that, my time's up. But again, thank you, Mr. Ryan. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Matthews. May I now invite Dr. Dinesh Tyagi, please?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Venkatji. Thank you, Mr. Gurnani, distinguished panelist, and Mr. Matthew. It's a great privilege for me to be part of this webinar. And I do believe the large number of common service center operators are also joined, and they live in villages. So I will actually talk a little differently on Atmanirbhar from the perspective of a villager, perspective of a person who lives in villages. How does he see what is an Atmanirbhar Bharat to him? And I'm sure when Atmanirbhar Bharat is being talked about, it's talked about in the concept and in the manner in which a person remotely located and he perceives to be. So what does he think that what is an Atmanirbhar? I just give an example of, I have gone to a university, Delhi University, addressing some students and asked them, have you gone to a government office? About 80% will raise their hands. I asked them, would you like to go second time to a government office? They all shouted no. Yes, that's Atmanirbhar Bharat. For them, Atmanirbhar Bharat is enablement, empowerment, and inclusion. That is Atmanirbhar. For common man in a village, Atmanirbhar Bharat looks differently as compared to what we perceive here in living in urban areas. So the common service center purpose is also to make Atmanirbhar Bharat. I share few things. So common service centers are access points, digital access points, which are operated, managed by local entrepreneur, and he delivers various services to citizens. There are 400,000 of them, probably one of the largest network in the world. It has never had been there. And these entrepreneurs are amazing entrepreneurs who do exceedingly well within the constraints of the rural India and deliver services to citizens across. There are a lot of things which have happened over the years. The JAM TT, the Jan Dhan, Aadhaar and mobile are signs of Atmanirbhar Bharat, empowerment and inclusion. They are part and parcel. Government of India also, what do we need to them? We need to them in order to create some kind of a digital literacy program where they understand what is digital, enable them to use a digital tool, and also then help them in trying and use accessing services. If we can do all the three components together, we are making self-retained. The Gandhi's dream of Swaraj is this, that if I can become independent and I can access all that what is available to other people across in an inclusive manner, I become Atmanirbhar. For me, Atmanirbhar Bharat is actually looking at the person, the last mile, and making self-confident and equally participative in the nation building as somebody who is outside and living and having an urban area. The Common Service Center does some part of the work on making Atmanirbhar Bharat. As I said, about 50,000 are operated by women, and as usual, these women entrepreneurs are amazing. They do better than men because their credibility is very high, and they are also more sincere as compared to men. They don't do mischief as a man operator can do. The essence of Common Service Center is, since it's operated by local person and managed by local person, his credibility is higher. His ability to cheat is low because he lives in the same community. They not only know him, they also know his family. So he will be able to do service better as compared to an outsider going to a village and doing service. That's what they do. And that's what the process of creating are. So we looked into some of the things. The government of India has started program for digital literacy. 6 crore citizens, 6 crore families, one in every family is being made digital literate. That means they'll be taught basic of digital literacy, how to use digital tools and access digital services. Out of this, about 2.5 crore has already been trained, and the remaining, in any case, will be trained in another couple of years. So you'll get 6 crore people digital literate. And we have amazing stories of people who have never used a computer, a man and a woman, a ration shop dealer now doing ration shop, 62 years, learned the computer and started doing ration shop through a computer. So there are examples of digital literacy and which a client have. Then of course the tools which are accessible to them, the mobile is accessible to almost everybody. There are a large number of them. There are 60 crore people who have mobile phones now in India. So there's significant number of mobile. There are internet access also is available to people. And the BharatNet project, which is being launched, will try and help in creating access to internet in 250,000 panchayats across the country. So once you have tools, digital literacy, access to tools, digital literacy, and internet, you will probably be able to see the fruits of what is an Atmanirbhar Bharat becomes part and parcel of that segment of society which is so inclusive. What we do quite a large number of things. We do first we do on financial inclusion. That everything today the government of India is now doing DBT, 8 crore of Ujjwala beneficiaries, about 9 crore farmers, about 20 crores Jan Dhan account holders. So about 40 crore people have got money into their account. But where do they go? After 70 years of independence, we have only 40,000 rural branches of commercial banks. How do these 40 crore people will get access to that finance in 40,000 rural branches? The opportunity today is that the Common Service Center helps in getting an access to them because it's very close to their place. And unfortunately, Aadhaar-enabled payment system helps quite a lot, that you don't only need a biometric device, and it is better than a card because you can't cut somebody's finger. It is far more authentic as compared to using any other mode of delivery of financial services. So we do these across the country in all the places. Any person, if the people are sick, this common service operator goes to his or her house if she is an old and unable her to draw money and do. They can do a balance inquiry, do this and do a money transfer. So they're actually doing banking in that sense. And of course, we're now tied up with few of the banks where they do also generate leads for buying loans. So you can actually create a lead and then buy a loan asset. You buy a TV, fridge, or a car or a scooter sitting in a village, doesn't have to go to the branch, which is what is being created across. Then we do a digital teacher. We almost do everything for education purposes. Small class 3, 5, 8, 10, 12, literacy in IT. You can do literacy in management courses. We have got also the IGNOU courses which are available. We have IIT prelim coaches also have coaching facility available. You have coaching facility for various jobs which are available in India to a person in a village. So maybe one person or one girl want to appear for exam, she can go to Common Service Center, pay some fees and do that part of the work. So we do almost everything possible in the education field. And third, we do telemedicine. We do large number of telemedicine in all the three, Ayurveda, homeopathy and allopathy. In fact, COVID has actually stabilized our system quite a lot. We were earlier doing 6,000 transactions telemedicine every month. In the COVID time, we had actually gone to 60,000 every month. So we are probably also one of the largest network on telemedicine in the world, which is operated and managed in the system. So they do teleconsultation through a doctor, and both the patient and the doctor talk to each other. So this is also very significant. So what we're doing is we do three of them, DBT we call them, digital doctor, digital banker, and digital teacher, or all these common service centers, which helps the community to access most of the services close to the place of their residence. We also now see that there is a potential for creating using new technologies. So people in urban area can go to a site and buy goods, and goods can be supplied to them. But rural people still have a problem. Nobody supplies to them. So we created what we call a CC Grameen e-store. This is operated by a village level enterprise. We have now got 1 lakh Grameen e-store. They have their own business app, and the customer can do it. So these operators place order through the customer app. He then supplies to them the local material. He procured the material locally. He may procure locally from the farm. Somebody is buying fish from the fish farm. Somebody buying mango from a mango farm. Somebody buying vegetable from a vegetable farm, and supplying to local communities. 1 lakh people, and we had just launched it about a month before. Our turnover is about 10 crore rupees transactions already taken place in a short possible time, with not much of publicity around. Our advocacy is also done by the same operator. He is the best because he understands technology. He enables people to understand. He calls them, and he has built a huge credibility on the ecosystem into them. Recently, we launched what is, because the APMC has been abolished, and with the abolition of APMC, we have now launched a Kisan E-Mart. In the Kisan E-Mart, a farmer can directly sell to traders. We have a platform with a partner in Pune, and therefore the platform is being used. We have recently sold lychee of Muzaffarpur, Bihar to London, and we are now selling pineapple from Tripura, 100 tons to Dubai. So all this is possible. We have sent potatoes and tomatoes, of course, within Indian, and of course sending abroad. And they're getting very good prices. The farmer is very happy. His money is safe. He gets immediately payment, and he of course get a better price. And he is also not cheated in terms of quantity, quality, etc., because everything is very transparently done. The farmer doesn't have to bother. The logistic partner goes and lifts everything for the farm. He doesn't have to bother. He just stays in the farm. I think this APMC abolition itself is the great, huge value proposition, and the farmer will actually become far more sustainable in producing things as they're doing it. We are also trying in buying blue ginger from Bastar, which is sold in Australia, and also Imli, which is also tamarind, which is sold abroad from large tribal areas. So we are trying to work out through the Common Service Center, which is our base, using technology platform in creating Atmanirbhar Bharat. For us, Atmanirbhar Bharat is those people who are living in villages actually feel equally empowered, equally enabled, and equally enlightened as somebody in the urban area. That is for us is Atmanirbhar Bharat. As I said, there are many stories of that. We of course deliver government to citizen services, means you can take a PAN card or that. Our dream is that if today I can supply goods online, cash on delivery, why can't we supply government service cash on delivery? The point which is mentioned about the student saying, I want everything to be in my house. Today people are prepared. Why can't we send a land record to his house? Why can't we say ration card to his house? Why can't we say, and he is prepared to pay. See, the day we change it, that will be Atmanirbhar Bharat. If we are still asking people to go to government office, either take a license, even to set up industry, why should you go to government office at all? Why can't the licensee come to your house? You apply online, send all document, let the verification. And the verification can be through a Zoom, like a webinar format. You can verify physically the face of the guy if you still want to verify. These notions has to change. That will create Atmanirbhar Bharat. Atmanirbhar Bharat is talking about grassroots. Atmanirbhar Bharat is talking of reforms in order to empower the communities, and that's what is possible. So I think we do believe that common service centers are playing a great role, and these entrepreneurs are amazing. If you see the story of them, they are too good. One chap in handicap guy whose last year turnover was 8 crore. I don't know how do they do the business in those circumstances in rural India. There's one chap who's read Sanskrit only, and he started 3 years before. His last year turnover was 2 crore. They sell everything and they local community and empower them. Many of them are employing people. There are about 5 to 10 people employed in almost all centers. So about 1.2 million people are having jobs. We do believe that our Grameen store, which we have now launched recently, if we do 2 lakh of them, will also further employ 5 people and we get another 1 million jobs created in rural India. Because they will also work for logistics for other partners who want to do it. There are some partners who want to use logistics for rural India. They can use common service centers for doing that. So I thought I little digress from what was being talked about Atmanirbhar, but I think my belief is, and our belief for common service centers, we believe is Atmanirbhar Bharat, and we call it Gram Swaraj. We are providing internet, we are providing digital literacy, we are providing digital access to services, and we are providing digital technology, and also training and empowering communities to learn whatever they want to learn at little cost. That's what I thought I would share with you. And these common service centers today are listening to you. They must be participating across the country, because when you send it, we also shared across these 4 lakh centers. So those, some of them, of course, they listen in Hindi, so they largely Hindi speaking, but I think many of them will understand English. We're also teaching them English. We're also making them understand English. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Munish, can you now take over and handle the questions, please?
Yes. First of all,
we can't see your face fully now. Kindly readjust your camera a little more. Yeah. This is better now. Thank you. Munish.
Yeah. First of all, thank you. Very enlightening comments, particularly in view of the entire country's focus now on Atmanirbhar Bharat. So I was glad to hear from Mr. Gurnani, Mr. Matthews, and now Dr. Dinesh's very practical and very in-depth, remarks on what CSC is doing. And yes, I think we have several people from several CSCs in waiting. I can still see probably 20 of them waiting. Unfortunately, we are capped out at 500, and it's very difficult to collect everybody's questions and interactions. But I will try to summarize as much as possible. But I want to give a chance to first one of our members from the managing committee who is also online, and he represents German radio. Anil, if you can find Anup Saxena ji, and he would like to ask a question first, and then Madan Jha, and then I will summarize all the other questions, a lot of them from CSCs. Anup Saxena? Anil, can you check Anup? and see if he is ready with this question.
If it's taking time, may
We
I?
will ask Madan Jha.
Okay.
Madan Jha, are you ready? Can you ask your question? Anil, can you unmute these two? I can.
Can you hear me? Hi.
Yeah. Anup, ready to go.
Yes. Mr. Rajan, this is Anup Saxena from Germany. You on mobile phone. I have a question on this Atmanirbhar self-reliant. See, India is self-reliant as this mobile phone manufacturer. But how the telecom equipment, they're still lagging behind. I was listening to funny. He was also saying the same thing. Why is it so that we are not able to have
Anup, your audio is not clear at all. Even I can't understand what you're saying. Can you?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Better. So just slowly ask your question because otherwise it's all jumbled up.
Okay. Is question for Mr. Matthew? Hello, Mr. Matthew.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Mr. Matthew, met a couple of times. Question about the self-reliant or mobile phone manufacturing. But are we where we are on the telecom equipment? I mean, we are not able to manufacture the telecom equipment. Or Chinese companies.
Put the mic right under your mouth, Anul. Yeah. The audio is pretty bad. Can you write it out or I will read it for you?
Hello.
Yeah, better. Yeah, better.
Okay. Mr. Matthew again. I'm asking about this self-reliant. Like we are manufacturing mobile phone. But what about the telecom equipment? That we are still, very far away from that. And Chinese are the leaders.
So I think I understand Anup's question. I think I have the gist of it. I think he's asking about why we aren't self-reliant in terms of handset manufacturing, if that's the gist of the question.
No, the telecom equipment. Yeah, the telecom access is fine, but the telecom.
Telecom equipment. Yeah.
Yeah. So why are we not self-reliant on telephone equipment? Let me give you two quick reasons. One is we don't have the IPR, and we've never developed IPR. And because we don't have IPR, the bulk of our royalty payments and the value goes to foreign companies that have the IPR. And now, of course, you realize that Huawei is one of the dominant carriers that have IPR and 5G. And so that's one particular reason that we don't have it. Secondly, our domestic manufacturers don't have access to the capital. One of the things that is very critical in terms of India is what we call vendor financing. All of the big vendors provide the financing for the equipment that is bought, and our manufacturers in India simply don't have access to that type of capital to be able to provide these loans at these levels. Just take what is happening at RCOM. You notice the amount of money RCOM in liquidity has been shown to owe over $1 billion+ to the Chinese banks. All right, so is an example of that. So that's the second reason why no IPR, never invested in R&D, don't have access to capital, and today, right, unfortunately, they have not been able to get the volumes to be able to start competing with these guys who are there. So those are the three principal reasons that they're having difficulty.
Okay, thank you. One question from Mr. Gurnani. He was talking about C dot. So, what happened to C dot now?
I can't hear Anup.
He said, Mr. Gurnani, Anup is saying that you talked about C dot. And where does C dot stand today in terms of making India self-reliant, for example, in the R&D, equipment manufacturing?
I mean, CDOT is still a great institution. There are a lot of software and technology solutions. I recently worked with them in one of the core switching systems, and they do have a good product. Similarly, I have seen that they have developed some software for telehealth. So I think it's a great company, but somewhere uh, I don't think their ambition was to become an Ericsson or a Nokia or an Alcatel Lucent or a Huawei, and it is more limited by the ambition of the government. I think in terms of engineering talent, it is one of the best engineering talents in the world.
This is of Sam Pituda. Ever since Sam Pituda, I
I
believe.
mean, sir, like, I mean, Sam has gone long ago, sir. I mean,
I know. That's what I'm saying.
we can't,
We can't hear much on the C dot now. Sam was around. It was quite a big.
Let me follow up on that, Anup. I know your line of thinking. Mr. Gurnani, let me ask you this. I fortunately had some good interaction with the private sector and the public sector companies, including CDOT. Now, the government of India creates these behemoth R&D organizations with great talent, as you have said, engineering talent, and CDOT has some good products. And in the past, the government has decided or followed the path where government labs would like to partner with private companies to give them their technology, and then they start further R&D and manufacturing, etc., etc. But that synergy between public sector and private sector, I don't seem to see. I mean, I've attended Mr. Matthews' last conference in October, and then I've seen a lot of TEPC conferences. But these are standalone silos. And the private sector itself, as such, the big companies that you've mentioned, a few of them, I can take a lot of names, are not really driving themselves in R&D and manufacturing, even though they don't have a problem with vendor financing. I mean, Mr. Matthews gave one example of one company, but a lot of companies wouldn't have problems. So where is the disconnect? We can't say it's all government of India or it's only private sector, but I think it's the problem of the public and private sector in a country like India not really going hand in hand.
Mr. Gupta, it's a big subject.
Yeah.
The big subject is, are we defining the problem in the proper way? Do we recognize that India has a crisis when it comes to areas where we should be the leaders? The fact is that we keep talking China. You open the newspapers, it is China, China, China. Now, have you ever realized for a moment that India claims to be the best and the best in technology and software, but the best solutions have been created by Alibaba? So I would love to give you an answer. The fact again is demography and demand works in our favor. What does not work in our favor is we have never treated it as a crisis. We have never defined a problem statement. We have never challenged ourselves that we collectively as a nation want to address a problem. The same country where in their own steam does create an organization like Geo, you know the way the money has come in. I mean, it is not an accident. And it is not that they did not challenge conventional thinking. Nobody had ever given an order for equipment of that level to Samsung. Nobody had told them that you will make a network which will ultimately be the most automated network in the world. But if company took a leadership and was willing to put 10 billion behind it, they have become more or less self-reliant. So it's a complex issue, Mr. Gupta. At the same time, I think there is an increased focus. We, as private sector, would want to offer our help to government institutions to dream big and be ready to not only dream big, but fail big.
Thank you. Taking from what Mr. Gurnani has said, and I'm seeing a lot of questions come that way, Mr. Matthews, and to some extent, Dr. Tyagi, there are companies which claim to have done very well in India in the telecom equipment sector, like HFCL, Tejas, many others. and they seem to be increasing their market share outside India. Some of them are even white boxing equipment for NEC and work for ZTE, like Tejas I know. But where do we stand in terms of 4G and the transition to 5G? You think government could do something, or government puts out tenders and actually makes a laundry list and wish list of equipment and specs that typically don't go the Indian way? Sorry to ask you a hard question.
Yeah, no, Mahesh, that's a fair question. And I think one of the things is that obviously you have WTO issues. You're a signatory to that in terms of protectionist issues, in terms of preferential market access. These are all challenges that we ran into in the Indian market as well. And so what has happened is that the Indian government can subsidize its own government purchases. So exactly, so as you say, if you want Tejas and if you want HFCL and all of these companies to be able to get the volume, the only volume you can presently force in a sense is through either BSNL, MTNL or whatever. You can't force a private company. Now the question you ask is, why aren't private companies being able to order? Of course, they do order things from Tejas and from HFCL, microwave and stuff. But the point you're saying is that that volume is not sufficient to get Tejas and HFCL to global levels to compete against the Ericssons and the Nokias of the world. They're, riding on the back of global demand. I'll just, give you a very quick thing. I was at Barcelona, as you were, and our minister was meeting with our friends at Huawei, and he was obviously asking them to invest in India. And he said, something, yes, you guys have the volume, but the rupee value or the dollar value to that is less than what I earned from Saudi Arabia. So you can see, we have volume, but what we pay for it is nowhere near in terms of the value proposition that these countries are getting from other places. And I think we need to improve that. And I have to go back to this, saying you've got to improve the health of the industry, right? So that the industry can pay the types of money that we should be paying and investing in our networks. Unfortunately, we are running short of the capital that we require vis-a-vis the present situation in India.
But the question there is that should, like the United States and many other countries, we print money and give it to our companies?
Well, let me give you that's a good point. Look at what is happening in the US. They are literally giving away 5G spectrum today at near throwaway prices in quantums that you and I would be, sort of gasping for in India. All right. That's an indication. And I think you made the good point saying is that, do we have, I think Mr. Gulaniam also made the point, do we have national priorities? If we have national priorities to develop a Huawei, listen, it's a combination of getting together government investment, private partnerships in terms of giving them the volumes and saying, give me an incentive for me to be able to buy this. This is one of the areas that we've been asking the government of India, saying, instead of continuing to get license fee and spectrum, can you please reduce this for every dollar that I spend on introducing Indian components, right? And parts, give me an incentive, much as I presently get from other parts of the world.
We have similar questions from two people. One is Sanjay of ITV London and another member. We are coming back to the same issue, China, India. But China today seems to be the leader in IT and telecom equipment around the world. And India is trying. I mean, do you see a time frame in which we will, as a manufacturer, supplier of equipment, even within our own country, gear up to that level? Will be up to that standard soon? How soon? Both to Mr. Gurnani and to you.
Mr. Gurnani, please.
Thank you again, Manish and Rajan. I don't think it is a question of quality. Please remember, South Korea, which is now the ultimate giant in industry, in electronics, in semiconductor, almost every second memory chip is being made there. And frankly, it is a country which is giving run for money to Japan in every sector. I mean, think about the Hyundai or a Samsung or an LG. Which part of the economy they do not dominate? And when is that? How old is that story? How old is the China story of world dominance? How much India can leapfrog in the next 10 years if we do have the will to make and create a momentum. It just takes that much of, I would consider it as a junoon or a passion. Once we decide, I mean, I promise you that there is no stopping to us. We've proven it in running telecom operations. I'm not talking of telecom equipment. The fact is that Airtel and the Vodafone Idea or a Reliance Jio run the cheapest and the most effective cost operations in the world. If we can run the most effective cost operations, we can also compete in everything in the world, as long as we determine the deterrents are for us to solve. Bangladesh and its labor laws can beat us in garment exports. I don't see why one of our states and one of our federal policies not be able to change it. Let's get together in a public-private partnership. Let's create some ambitious plans. And I do believe India is ready. At least the private sector is ready. We do have the appetite. Let's work together.
Last line of questions, because I see a lot of pop-ups to me. You mentioned a 10-year time frame. Let's say that the Prime Minister has now actually given a clarion call for Atmanirbhar Bharat, and let's say, hopefully, they will change what you call, what I feel you call a paradigm change in terms of policy. I mean, I see that coming from UP state in terms of land and labor reforms of some sort. But if that, do you think there is that passion, that junoon that will follow the declaration of this policy, or what do you feel, both of you?
Again, Munish Gupta Sahab, I will take a quick comment and then I need to sign off since I'm late for my another meeting.
Yes.
Gupta Sahab, I think our mindset needs to change. The reality is land reforms are probably very, very good for the infrastructure project. For creating industrial belts, I don't think we have much of an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And if they are, it is because we were running all of us to a Noida or a Chennai or a Coimbatore. I mean, the moment we start stepping out of those industrial zones, I mean, there is not a land issue. Similarly, on the labor reform side, I think it is more of a prioritization. There are signs of labor reforms, but the reality is that we change our laws every year. I mean, you need a consistency and a stability in your regime. In this world, Singapore has proven what they can achieve. Israel has proven what they can achieve in being a desert country. That the fact is, Rajasthan has proven what their businessmen can achieve by going overseas and outside their own home state. So I don't think passion is ever an issue. I think it is a dialogue and a communication which is an issue, and a trust and relationship is an issue. The moment we start trusting each other and we start having a common agenda, how many Israeli companies get listed in the New York Stock Exchange? What is the size of Israel? What was Israel 30 years ago? I think most of us know the answers. We just have to resolve. And if Prime Minister makes it his priority, I know it will become a priority for many of us.
Thank you. Rajan, do you have to leave, Mr. Gurnani? Are you going to?
Yeah, I have to, unfortunately, Mr. Gupta, leave because I had another meeting at 5 o'clock and people waiting.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Would love to have you over again.
Welcome, sir. And it's always an honor to talk to you and, friends like Rajan and...
Thank you.
Thank you again, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Gurnani. Actually, before you leave, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Now, where do we stand on 5G? I mean, do we have to depend on Huawei or American companies, or is our R&D and our technical skills, are we equipped to come up with our own 5G?
It's a complex subject. I would say that there is a requirement of an ITI, CDOT and a Tech Mahindra to get together and do a few proof of concepts. It is like me learning swimming outside the swimming pool, or us trying to learn pilot training on a simulator. So I think we are simulator wise perfect. I don't think we have done enough to take off in the real market.
What is your take on that, Mr. Rajan?
So I think if we look at 5G, unfortunately, we are going to be a little late to the game because, again, as I said, in telephony and in communications, IP is the key, right? If you want to monetize value for manufacturing and software design and implementation, we are a standards-driven body and an industry. So unless your IP gets embedded in what we call the standards essential patents, you're not going to monetize this, and that's what you need to grow. So, but all is not lost. So please understand how you can take a leaf from the book of Huawei. Huawei never went head to head with the majors in the first place. All right, they started small, had tremendous amount of funding from the government. All right, they were backed with vendor financing. All right, they copied. All right, you don't have to own IPR. You can license IPR, and you need to be able to be smart in terms of being able to get good deals and incorporating it in your equipment. All right, and then sell it for price-sensitive markets. They made a big killing originally in Africa and selling it into these areas, right? They developed from there, and before you know it, they were investing in IP and R&D, tremendous amounts of money, so that by the time it came to 5G, they were the dominant operator, and the rest of the world was looking. So I think we can. Now let me give you an example of where we can, using this strategy, get ahead of the curve. What we call, quantum computing, quantum security is the next frontier. We can definitely, if our country is serious about this, and our government has already started to invest, we can take the lead, and tomorrow's world will wipe out the Huawei's, Ericsson's, and Nokia's if we establish our prominence in quantum computing and quantum security.
Yes, I
Let me
did.
tell you.
I think, Rajan, I just want to add one point. You gave a very good example of Huawei, but remember, product got matured because of the trials with China Mobile.
Yeah, I think.
Similarly, I think the technology stack in India is ready. I don't think we are getting enough sponsorships from the local telcos, and local telcos will not do it till they see that government gives them sufficient incentives to become that proof of concept or a trial base.
Well, thank you again. Let me move on to CSC. I'm getting bombarded by people saying that, why are you not asking CSC questions? Dr. Tyagi, first of all, the general generic question is, can CSC or through CSC people get loans for VLE? That's the first question. And how can rural VLEs help implement Atmanirbhar Bharat? So you have to explain this whole thing in these 2 points. Could you please?
A loan, the first question we said that CSC through our association with one bank are what is called business facilitator, BF. A BF can generate lead for a loan. So the person doesn't have to go to the branch, he just uploads the documents and the branch sanctions it and it disperses. And it takes about 24 hours to sanction a loan for about buying a scooter or a car or something of that nature. So not only CSC can take loan for its own purpose, but it also can extend loan to the people where it is operating. The community can. There are a lot of people buying tractor loans. There are people who bought car loans, the scooter loans. Somebody want to buy a refrigerator, consumables. All these are there. I think the banks are also realizing the market in rural India, and therefore they're also supporting quite a lot. They're incentivizing CSC operators in generating those leads and extending loan. So that is one. So CSC can extend loan for itself, can take loan for itself, and also extend for the community in which it leads. The second, which you mentioned, that how does CSC promote Atmanirbhar Bharat? I did explain that the Atmanirbhar Bharat for us is to create inclusive society, inclusive and empowered society. And inclusive and empowered society, creating especially for 50% of people who live in rural India, CSC plays a very significant role. The point on financial inclusion services, we do banking, insurance, pension, all three of them. We do telemedicine, which I mentioned, for and teleconsultation. We also do diagnostic, some part of it, and also medicine dispensation through electronic media. Everything is electronic. We don't do any physical documents in that format. And
then एक थोड़ा सा एक रिक्वेस्ट है, lot of people are saying, ये जो आपने बताया है इसको थोड़ा सा संक्षेप में हिंदी में भी बताएं, because a lot of your people are online and they are not getting it. So,
right, I was going to say that. Yeah.
तो साथ साथ थोड़ा सा हिंदी में बताएं, and then I'll move on to the next important question for you.
Okay, I thought you're since you're foreign correspondent club.
No, that's okay. I appreciate that. No, it is good for us, but I think because
I know them very well, so they all like to know Hindi. तो CSC अपने लिए लोन ले सकती है, वो क्योंकि बैंकिंग फैसिलिटेटर है एक बैंक का, और दूसरे लोगों को भी लोन दिला सकती है. किसी को ट्रैक्टर लोन चाहिए, कार लोन चाहिए, और बड़े बड़े EMI शॉर्ट, बहुत अच्छे EMI, इंटरेस्ट रेट बहुत कम है, बैंक ने इंसेंटिव दिया है, और CSC को मार्जिन मिलता है. एवरी लीड इज जनरेट, ही गेट अ मार्जिन. सो इट्स अ बिजनेस एक्सटेंशन ऑफ लोन थ्रू CSC. कम्युनिटी के लिए, CSC के लिए इनकम जनरेशन होता है. बैंकिंग के सारे काम CSC कर सकता है. जैसे मैंने कहा, वो लोगों को बैलेंस इंक्वायरी उनके अकाउंट में कर सकता है, उनको उनके लिए फंड ट्रांसफर करा सकता है, और वो अपने पैसे भी विड्रॉ कर सकते हैं. और CSC क्योंकि बाकी पैसे कलेक्ट करते हैं, जैसे बिजली के बिल कलेक्ट करता है, तो उसका कैश होता है, उसी कैश को यूज करके लोगों को फंड भी दे देता है इन केस दे वांट टू. और क्योंकि हम आधार एनेबल पेमेंट सिस्टम करते हैं, यूज करते हैं, तो किसी भी बैंक के अकाउंट होल्डर को पैसे निकाल के दे देता है. ही इज एक्चुअली इंटरऑपरेबल. वो किसी भी बैंक के अकाउंट के पैसे आप CSC से निकाल सकते हैं. आपको सिर्फ अपने बैंक का नाम बताना है और अपनी उंगली को यूज करना है फॉर आधार ऑथेंटिकेशन, एंड दैट्स व्हाट दे डू इट. और गांव में लोगों में जाकर के ये करता है. एक वो टीचर का, जैसे मैंने बोला था, हम एजुकेशन के लिए बहुत करते हैं. हमारी फाउंडेशन ही एजुकेशन है, पढ़ाई ही हमारा फाउंडेशन है. तो हम करीब गांव में किसी को भी कोई भी पढ़ाई करनी है, CSC उसकी मदद कर सकता है. कोई चीज की तैयारी करनी है, किसी एग्जाम की या किसी कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम्स की, वो भी CSC मॉक टेस्ट देता है, वो छोटे पैसे में. फ्री कुछ नहीं है, नथिंग इज फ्री, फॉर एवरीथिंग सिटीजन्स टू पे. मतलब लोगों को पैसे देने पड़ते हैं. ये कंसेप्चुअली है, क्योंकि हम किसी से पैसे लेते नहीं है, तो लेकिन उसको पैसा दे, पर बहुत मिनिमम है, बहुत मिनिमम पैसे देने पड़ते हैं, विच ए पर्सन कैन अफोर्ड. और फ्री की वैल्यू नहीं होती, पैसे लेके फिर वो डिमांड भी करता है. सर्विस ऑल्सो इज वेरी गुड. तो DBT जैसे बोला, डिजिटल डॉक्टर, डिजिटल बैंक और डिजिटल टीचर, ये तीनों CSC काम करता है. अगर हम तीनों फैसिलिटी को गांव में लोगों को करा दें, और फार्मर का सपोर्ट हम करते हैं, हम फार्मर के लिए इनपुट सप्लाई करते हैं, उसके प्रोड्यूस भी प्रोक्योर करते हैं, और उसको टेली एडवाइजरी सर्विस भी देते हैं. हमने KV की जो ICR के साइंटिस्ट हैं, उनको अपने सिस्टम के साथ जोड़ा है. फार्मर अपनी क्रॉप को वहां पर दिखा के वीडियो कॉन्फ्रेंसिंग से एडवाइस ले सकता है, उसके क्रॉप में कोई पेस्ट है, और या फिर उसको कोई एडवाइस सीड के बारे में पूछना है. तो फार्मर को अब KVK में जाने की जरूरत नहीं है, वो साइंटिस्ट से एडवाइस ले सकता है. एंड दीज आर ऑल बाय गवर्नमेंट साइंटिस्ट, देयरफॉर नो प्रॉब्लम. इस तरह डॉक्टर्स हमारे पास आयुर्वेदिक, होम्योपैथी, एलोपैथी की, आप जिस मर्जी से कर लीजिए. वी हैव अपोलो डॉक्टर्स. इफ यू वांट टू टॉक टू अपोलो डॉक्टर, गांव में बैठ के छोटा नॉमिनल फी दे के अपोलो के डॉक्टर से आप एडवाइस ले सकते हैं. तो ये सब लोगों को, कम्युनिटी को एम्पावर और इंक्लूसिव बनाने के लिए, एंड विच इज व्हाट वी बिलीव इज आत्मनिर्भर भारत. तो CSC का तो बहुत बड़ा रोल है. और क्योंकि हम भारत नेट भी ऑपरेट करते हैं और इंटरनेट देते हैं, अभी FTTH कनेक्शन दे रहे हैं लोगों को. वी आर ट्राइंग एंड हेल्पिंग कि लोगों को इंटरनेट नहीं होगा तो कुछ नहीं होगा. इट इज नॉट पॉसिबल टू क्रिएट आत्मनिर्भर भारत विदाउट इंटरनेट. दैट्स अ फैक्ट. एंड मिस्टर मैथ्यू ऑफ कोर्स will also say that unless we have internet, in fact somebody said why not make it essential service, why not make it so attractive to people कि ये जरूरत है, इसको जल्दी से करना है, and do that. अगर 6 लाख गांव में 6 लाख में गुड क्वालिटी इंटरनेट सर्विस होगा, तो देश आत्मनिर्भर भारत अपने आप बन जाएगा. And if you can create a system of that nature, CSC is playing a significant role. हमने जितनी हमारी बच्चों की कैपेसिटी है, दे बिकम टेक्निकली क्वालिफाइड, नाउ दे कैन इवन रिपेयर, अभी रिपेयर कर देते हैं ऑप्टिकल फाइबर को, वो रिपेयर भी करता है, मेंटेन भी करता है और उसको चलाता भी है और उसको इंटरनेट को बेचता भी है, एंड ही ऑफ कोर्स अर्न्स इनकम एंड ही एम्प्लॉय टू मेनी पीपल. सो गांव के स्ट्रक्चर को मेंटेन करना, मैनेज करना इज व्हाट इज स्किलफुल. आप ये गांव वाले बच्चों को अंडर एस्टिमेट मत कीजिए, बहुत ही अमेजिंग है, दे आर टेक्निकली वेरी क्वालिफाइड. एंड ऑफ द डे कोई भी लार्ज सर्विस प्रोवाइडर भी उन्हीं को यूज करता है. गांव में अगर ऑपरेट कराना है तो उन्हीं को सर्विस को लेता है. वी आर सेइंग, वी डायरेक्टली सेइंग कि सारा पैसा आपको जाएगा, देयर नो इंटरमीडिएशन. We are actually getting all the money paid to him, so they are very happy, thrilled, and they are safe and secure in that format. So आत्मनिर्भर भारत में लोगों को सारी सर्विस उनके घर पे मिल सके और उनको सरकारी ऑफिस जाना ना पड़े किसी भी काम के लिए, और अपनी चीजों को, अपने प्रोड्यूस को बेच सके. हमारी सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप की महिलाएं छोटी छोटी चीजें बनाती हैं, हमारे ग्रामीण स्टोर से बेचती हैं. हमारी एक महिला ने छत्तीसगढ़ में 5 लाख का सामान बेच दिया, एक ट्रेडर खरीद के ले गया, बिकॉज she was making everything organic उपले बनाती, गोबर के उपले which are sent to US, तो वो अमेरिका में भेजे जाते हैं, वो भी बनाती सेल्फ हेल्प महिलाएं. तो मैंने बताया कि CSC लोगों की मदद कर रहा है, उनकी इनकम जनरेशन में, उनके प्रोड्यूस को सेल करने के लिए सपोर्ट कर रहा है, फार्मर को सपोर्ट कर रहा है, उसको इनपुट परचेज के लिए. हम फर्टिलाइजर और सीड भी बेचते हैं, वी एक्चुअली सेल फर्टिलाइजर सीड थ्रू इफको, वो भी ऑनलाइन सप्लाई करते हैं. सो ऑलमोस्ट एवरीथिंग.
मेरा एक सवाल है सर, आप तो गवर्नमेंट में रहे हैं, यू हैव बीन एन IAS ऑफिसर. आप गवर्नमेंट से निकलने के बाद आप कह रहे हैं गवर्नमेंट की जरूरत नहीं पड़नी चाहिए, बड़ा मजा आ रहा है सुन के. But you see, where does the government actually stand? There are two important statements you made, and fortunately I understand the game. One is that BharatNet should actually become what it is poised to or aspired to become. That means we should have sufficient bandwidth available at that last mile level so that people are connected by the net. One, to educate themselves. Secondly, to find skilling of whatever sort, so that they can get into some sort of a self-employment or employment circle, and or become small scale or micro scale, not even medium or large scale manufacturers of some sort. तो ये हो रहा है, कितनी जल्दी हो रहा है, कब खत्म होगा? भारतनेट ट्रूली वो जो आप कह रहे हैं वो ड्रीम को अचीव कर लेगा? मुझे पता है कि बहुत सारे आपके ये जो क्या होते हैं 650 whatever blocks or levels they are, वहां तक पहुंच गया है. But is it, see, digital transformation, even World Bank says for continents like Africa is the key. There will be no growth and development. There will be no increase in GDP. We all understand that. But वो कब होगा, कैसे होगा, हो रहा है नहीं हो रहा है. एंड ये जो आप सर्विसेज को रिप्लेस करने की बात करें, बहुत सारे लोगों ने सवाल पूछा है कि तेलंगाना में फॉर एग्जांपल वोटर ID कार्ड, बहुत सारी चीजें अब CSCs को दिए जा रही है, लेकिन ये अक्रॉस द कंट्री नहीं दी जा रही हैं. तो ये सब कब तक खत्म होगा और इसको कैसे आप आगे बढ़ा रहे हैं?
ये तो एक तो क्योंकि फेडरल है तो बहुत सारे स्टेक होल्डर्स हैं. कुछ स्टेट बहुत अच्छे हैं. मैं एग्जांपल आई विल लाइक टू नेम ऑल्सो. हरियाणा में आप सब कुछ CSC में कर सकते हैं, अपने टैक्स भी CSC में जमा कर सकते हैं. दैट्स द ओनली स्टेट. तो वो स्टेट हैं, कुछ स्टेट अच्छी हैं, कुछ स्टेट स्लो हैं, एंड दैट वी शुड लिव विद इट. दैट एवरी स्टेट कैन नॉट बी द सेम पेस एंड सेम पावर. So that's what the democracy is built on. So therefore conceptually everybody is falling in line and we are finding a lot of changes now happening. अभी बहुत परिवर्तन है, बहुत चेंज है, लेकिन वो वाला चेंज नहीं है जो हमने कहा था कैश ऑन डिलीवरी, G2C कैश ऑन डिलीवरी. अगर मैं फ्रिज खरीद सकता हूँ तो मैं अपना राशन कार्ड भी अपने घर में ले लूँ और मेरे को मिल जाए और मेरा इलेक्शन कार्ड भी मेरे घर में आ जाए. ये वाला काम करने के लिए अभी बहुत थोड़ा माइंडसेट चेंज करना पड़ेगा. It take time, but I think end of the day this will happen. This has to happen. इसमें इनएविटेबल है. एंड फॉर्चुनेटली कोविड हैज एक्चुअली थ्रोन दोज अपॉर्चुनिटीज टू ट्राई एंड. हमने कभी ग्रामीण स्टोर की सोचा भी नहीं, कल्पना नहीं हुई. हैड देयर बीन नो कोविड वी वुड हैव नॉट क्रिएटेड अ ग्रामीण स्टोर बिकॉज़ वी नेवर बिलीव्ड दैट रूरल इंडिया विल हैव फेस प्रॉब्लम इन बाइंग थिंग्स बिकॉज़ दे आल्सो कुडंट गो आउट. सो वी क्रिएटेड अ स्टोर फॉर देम एंड दैट्स हाउ इट इज वर्किंग इन दैट फैशन.
बट लेट मी आस्क, एक सवाल और पूछना है आपसे कि ये CSC का आप इतना एक्सटेंशन कर रहे हैं कंट्री वाइड, और ये विलेज, पंचायत, ब्लॉक लेवल पे भारतनेट पहुंच रहा है. You see, India has had a very beautiful system of post office at the last mile. Every place has a post office that covers either 1, 2, 5 village based on its based on the population area. Post office has been digitally enabled, e-enabled. Post office also serves as a bank, as a repository of information. You can keep money there, you can transact. We don't need a Western Union or any other such solution provider. How is CSC tying in with the post office in some way and enabling that digital, sort of connect?
मैं पोस्ट ऑफिस के आपके साथ शेयर कर लूँ सी इस देश में 6 लाख गांव हैं और पोस्ट ऑफिस जो डिजिटली जो पोस्ट ऑफिस है वो सिर्फ 25,000 ही है बाकी उनको बोलते हैं ईडीपी बोलते हैं एक्स्ट्रा डिपार्टमेंटल पोस्ट ऑफिस सिंगल मैन पोस्ट ऑफिस विच आर अबाउट 1,10,000 तो 6 लाख गांव में 1,10,000 ईडीपीओज हैं and they be traditionally engaged. Some of them become very old. For them to imbibe the culture of using technology, a little more difficult. Assimilation of culture, they do it. Post office is also like government. वो गवर्नमेंट इंस्टीट्यूशन सैटरडे संडे बंद हो जाता है मेरा सीएससी बंद नहीं होता है इट इज ओपन 24 hours. It also goes to the house when somebody needs their support. It also helps quite a lot in doing social work for them, which a post office has limitation. I'm not saying government cannot do it. Government can do it. That way there are 250,000 panchayat. There is a panchayat secretary. There is a panchayat bhavan and the Bharat land bill. You can do through panchayat, but that panchayat secretary is 80% of the time used for other purposes, election duty, flood relief, there is some problem, meeting. He is never available to citizen. What is available to citizen is a common services. This entrepreneurship model driven by local person is a great story and there is no substitute for it. The government is trying, see we are not saying, we are also not exclusive. We are saying let them do their own house, but give an option to the citizen to choose whether he want to go to the post office or draw his money or he want to go to CSC and draw the money. Post office also is a post bank. It is a payment bank. That can't lend money. It can only allow people to withdraw the money. We are also creating a facility where you can even take money. The assets can be created. Not only liabilities for bank, we can also create assets for them.
First of all, let me also welcome Commodore Jena. He has joined us and a special friend of everybody here, including I know Rajan and Mr. Gurnani. So welcome Jena Saab. Rajan, coming back to you, you represent the industry. COIA is not a small entity. You represent the cellular operators, you represent the larger industry as such. Where do you see all this coming together? Now we've heard three things. We've heard from you as an association. We have seen the example of CSC, which is going down to the last mile, enabling entrepreneurship and digital connect. We have heard from a very large company like Tech Mahindra, saying that where is the gaps and the lacunae, what needs to be plugged from a private sector perspective. We have heard a little bit about CDOT and people are saying, why is TSEC not doing and why is CDOT shirking from what it should be done? Well, what's the golden rule for India? I mean, what would you like to see, the dream?
So thank you, Manish. I think the first thing that we have to realize, it's not the business of government to be in business. I think that's the first and fundamental proposition. Yes, government can enable, government can aid, government can help, but at the end of the day, government has to get out of the mindset that it can run these large businesses effectively. And that's clearly we've got to say. We've got to get into this transition of getting into that space. All right. So that's the first thing. Secondly, you're absolutely right. Mr. Tyagi is right. We've got to get India connected right down to our Gram Panchayats and block headquarters. I hope the vision that Mr. Tyagi is proponing in terms of the CSR, I really hope it takes up. It's necessary, it's needed. We need to start delivering services at that level. So that has to happen. We've got to start investing in R&D. We've got to prioritize 2 or 3 major industries like every other nation did. Taiwan did it, Hong Kong did it, Japan did it, America did it in terms of saying we want to go to the moon. That triggered the technology advancement. China has done it in terms of manufacturing. So I think we've got to set a national priority, what we call industrial policy. We've got to be very clear about this in terms of what are the areas. And I think if we do this, invest the money, put our efforts behind it, we have the talent, I think in 5 years, we can definitely hit the 5 trillion mark. Not a question in my mind.
So, we end with what I always wanted to ask. Rajan, you're smart. You picked up on it and you delivered on the Prime Minister's statement. You're saying if the Prime Minister has said Atmanirbhar Bharat 1 year into his second term, you are probably adding 1 more year after his second term to say within the next 5 years it can be done. but we need those policy initiatives. We need the private and the public partnership, as Mr. Gurnani said, and we need to embolden and enable the entrepreneurship down to the last mile at the rural level, which is what CSC is doing with its model. And hats off, Dr. Tyagi, I must compliment you.
Absolutely.
That these are things that will take India to its final goal. You know, it's the big companies and the big guys can speak and the government can speak, but it is models such as CSC, which will truly take digital connectivity and digital transformation, you know, across India to the heartland. But thank you very much. I know this is a vast subject. We could keep discussing this into the ground. I would invite you all back again. We will come up with some specific subjects based on this first conversation, and call you back for another webinar. I wish to thank the panelists, Mr. Gurnani, I believe he has left, Mr. Rajan Matthews, Dr. Tyagi, and also my dear friend who has come in at the last minute, but Commodore Jenna. I know he plays a big role. And over to you, Venkat, for a formal vote of thanks and winding up.
Well, it was a very interesting and enlightening discussion, gentlemen, Rajan and Dinesh ji and Mr. Gurnani. हमें खेद है कि पूरा अंग्रेजी में करना पड़ा, क्योंकि विदेशी पत्रकारों का संघ है, क्लब है. कुछ भाई लोग ऐसे हैं जो अगर हम हिंदी में होता तो उनको मजा आता, वो समझ भी सकते थे, लेकिन हम इसके बारे में कुछ नहीं कर सकते. हालांकि दिनेश जी एक सवाल का जवाब हिंदी में जरूर दिए हैं, तो हम माफी चाहेंगे. आइंदा इसके बारे में कुछ करेंगे ताकि जो अंग्रेजी बोल नहीं पाते, समझ नहीं पाते, उनके लिए भी ये हम कुछ कर सकें. And I want to thank you, Rajan and Dinesh ji. You must come and join us for a drink when we reopen the club.
Absolutely.
And interact with our members. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
For sparing so much of your precious time. I know, Rajan, you have another meeting to go.
Yes.
So we would like to end this by offering our profuse thanks. Thank you very much, all the participants, you know, wherever they may be. Thank you so much, and we look forward to same kind of enthusiasm and cooperation in future also. Sure. Very soon we will be having a very high profile participant to talk about the India-China border dispute, what next. Please wait for an announcement on our website and email and Facebook shortly. Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Let's close the meeting.